Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here. Today we're going to take a look at the NFL Showdown slate on Draftkings for Week 15 Monday Night Football. Colts versus Saints on Monday night. We're going to break down this Showdown slate on DK, work our way through the player pool. I'll hit on all the options that I like for this Showdown slate, who I feel like I'm going to be building around for tonight's slate. Before we do get started with the video, as always, guys, if you want to check out all the exclusive content I have available on Patreon, you can do so. Link down below. My Patreon is linked down below. I have a ton of NFL content going up throughout the week. I do write articles for the Monday night and Thursday night Showdown slate, so if you want to get my full in-depth article on this Showdown slate, you can check out the Patreon. You will have access to it depending on if you choose the right package. I do have NFL and NBA packages. I also have bundles where you can get both sports combined for a little bit of a cheaper price. So check out all the content I have available on Patreon. NFL stuff, I got NBA content going up Monday through Friday as well. Just putting up a ton of stuff over there. I do upload to YouTube just about every day. If I don't upload every day to YouTube, I'm uploading at least Monday through Friday. But you can definitely get more content from me, more access to more stuff from me over on Patreon. So check that out. Like the video if you do enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're getting very close to 17,500 subscribers, which is just absolutely insane. This channel just continues to grow more and more every day, and I can't thank you guys enough. So appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button if you are new. Click that notification bell as well, so that way you get notified every time I upload. You won't miss out on any of my new videos. You can also follow me on Twitter, link down below at DFS by Noah. And I did forget to mention, if you do join the Patreon by Christmas Day, I am running a $100 free roll contest on the Christmas Day NBA slate. So if you do play NBA, if you're familiar with NBA, I'll be running a $100 free roll contest for the NBA slate on Christmas Day. It'll only be available for Patreon members. So if you join the Patreon, if you sign up to the Patreon by Christmas Day, you will get access to that free roll, have a chance to win $100, money coming out of my pocket that I'm giving back to you guys. Just want to support those that support my content. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at this Showdown slate. So it's pretty tough. We know that the Saints are like a very compact, tight offense. We know the production, where the production is going to come through on that team, at least offensively. It's going to be Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and then Jared Cook will get into the mix as well. But those are like the three main guys, Thomas, Brees, Kamara. If the Saints put up 35 points in this game, it's going to be because Michael Thomas has 2 touchdowns. Kamara has a couple touchdowns. Drew Brees is throwing multiple TDs. So those are the guys we really want to target. The only problem is that they are very expensive. I mean, Thomas is 12.6 if you want to play him in the flex. Just as a flex play, if you want to play him in the captain, I mean, he's 18,900. Same with Drew Brees, up to 12K. Even Kamara is 9,800, which isn't as bad of a price, but still pretty expensive. So we're definitely going to have to make some sacrifices if we want to get these guys into our lineup. We're definitely going to have to find some value. But obviously, Michael Thomas is like the top overall play on this Showdown slate for me. He's the highest projected guy by a pretty wide margin. I mean, Michael Thomas has just been an absolute monster this season. Double-digit Draftkings points in every game this season. He has an incredibly high floor. The guy has a 35, 40-point ceiling. We know he's going to get 12, 13, 14 targets, if not more. This is a really good matchup against the Colts. They really don't have like a shutdown corner that they can put on Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas just finds ways to get open, even in tough matchups. We've seen him have success. Really like Thomas here. It's just, can we fit him in? We will talk about roster construction a little bit once we get towards the end of the video. Maybe try and build out some lineups with Michael Thomas just to see if we can make it work. But I will be trying to get him into as many lineups as possible, even at 12.6. Now, Drew Brees, on the other hand, at 12K, I'm fine like going away from him. Even if I'm playing Thomas at the captain, like I usually want to pair my quarterback with my receiver if I'm playing a receiver at captain, but I don't think you need to do that on this Showdown slate, given how expensive Drew Brees is. Like if you just play Thomas at captain, pair him with Drew Brees, I mean, you're down to 47.75 remaining per player. So I just don't think I need to play Drew Brees on this Showdown slate. Even if he goes for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns, like even if he scores 25 DK points, there's a chance you don't need him at his 12K price tag, especially if like Thomas goes for 30 to 35 and Brees maybe puts up 23, 25. I don't think you'll need both guys together. Like having Thomas at the captain might be good enough. So obviously Drew Brees at home here. I mean, the Saints have a 28 and a quarter implied team total. They're 10-point favorites here at home. This game has a 46.5 total. I expect Drew Brees to put up solid numbers at home. It's just on this Showdown slate with him being 12K, Michael Thomas being 12.6. Like, you have to choose which guy you want. And me personally, I would just much rather have Michael Thomas for 600 more. Alvin Kamara, 9,800, is definitely interesting. He's run really bad this season, like with touchdowns. He's only scored 2 touchdowns this season, and both of them came in the same game against the Seahawks. Other than that, he has no touchdowns on the season. So, I mean, Kamara at 9,800 is very interesting, just given, especially like with how expensive Thomas and Breeze are. Like, it's probably going to be tough to play Thomas at captain than Kamara as well. I mean, you might be able to make it work, but I'm fine like playing or dropping down to Kamara if you don't have the salary, if you can't find the salary to get to Thomas. Like, eventually he's going to score touchdowns. Eventually, when they get to the goal line, he's going to punch him in. We've seen Drew Brees get some QB sneaks this season, but 9 times out of 10, I mean, Kamara's going to be the guy punching in and punching it into the end zone if they get down to the goal line. We know he's going to get a ton of volume, going to get plenty of work in the passing game, probably 6 to 8 targets. I did look up that I believe the Colts are allowing the 6th most receptions to running backs this season. It's either 5th or 6th. I did look it up before I started recording. They're allowing the 5th or 6th most receptions to running backs, so I do like the matchup for Kamara. I believe they're like 14th in run DVOA, so it's just kind of a neutral matchup, but they do allow a lot of receptions to running backs, so Kamara should have success in the passing game. At 9,800, I think he's firmly in play on this Showdown slate. Jacoby Brissett honestly might be the quarterback I prefer to go to in this game, just given that he's $3,000 cheaper than Drew Brees, and we're probably going to need those savings. 10-point dogs here. You expect Indianapolis to be throwing quite a bit. New Orleans has been a pretty tough run defense. Like, they've been a pretty tough team to run on so far this season. I believe they're top 10 in run DVOA. I don't see Marlon Mack just having a ton of success in this matchup. I think if the Colts if they can hang in this game, it's going to be through the air. They're going to have to score like multiple passing touchdowns. I don't see Mack going for like 100 yards and multiple TDs. Just don't think that's going to happen in this matchup, especially with him coming back from injury. Like, there could be some concerns there. I know he came back from injury his last game against Tampa Bay. 13 carries, I mean, really tough matchup. 13 carries, 38 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 9.8 DK points in that game. I mean, Mack's just hard for me to go to on this Showdown slate given the tough matchup, and there's guys for cheaper that I think I'll be targeting, and just for a little bit more, there's guys I like as well. But the thing we're going to need to watch heading into Monday night is whether or not T.Y. Hilton plays. That's going to really impact the slate if T.Y. Hilton is in or out. If he is in, I don't really have a ton of interest in him, given that he maybe could be limited. I mean, there are reports that if he's going to play, it's going to be like he's going to be 100% if he plays, is what the report said. It says right here that he plans to play again sometime this season. That could be this week, that could be next week, that could be week 17. We don't know. That could be at the playoffs if they make it into the playoffs. I'm not sure what their record is, the Colts' record is right now, but I mean, Hilton, we really need to watch that. If he's in, I don't have a ton of interest in him. If he's in, I don't have a ton of interest in him. If he's out, though, that's definitely going to open the door for guys like Zach Pascal at 8K, Marcus Johnson down at 5,200. I'm going to like a ton if he's out. So we'll just kind of need to watch that heading into Monday night. We should get our actives and inactives will come out probably around 7 o'clock, usually an hour and a half before before kickoff. So, I mean, we'll know around 7 if Hilton's in or out. We'll probably get reports on like if he's warming up, how he's looking during warm-ups. If I had to guess, I would say he probably sits this one out, but honestly, I have no idea. We'll just kind of have to wait and see there. If he is out, though, like I said, that's going to open the door for guys like Zach Pascal, Marcus Johnson. Pascal's up to 8K on DK, I mean, or at least for the Showdown slate. He's been getting really good volume, though, the last 2 weeks. 19 targets the last 2 weeks, over 20 Draftkings points in both games against Tennessee and Tampa Bay. It's very likely that if Hilton is out, that Pascal probably gets shadowed by Marcus Lattimore, or Marcus Lattimore, it will at least be on him, which could definitely open the door for Marcus Johnson, who's a guy that I do like quite a bit. I mean, he's got 13 targets the last 2 weeks. Hasn't been nearly as productive, but he did have a big game against Tampa Bay. 105 receiving yards in that game and a receiving touchdown. If we do look at the wide receiver snaps, just for the Colts the last few games, I mean, last week against Tampa Bay, Pascal was on the field for 100% of the snaps. Marcus Johnson, 89%. Like, these are going to be the two guys on the field the most at receiver if Hilton's out on Monday night. Given the savings, like, I think Marcus Johnson's the guy that I would prefer to go to for 5,200. Like, if Hilton plays, though, that's going to muck up everything. There's a chance, I mean, obviously, if Hilton plays, I think he's probably going to be shadowed by Lattimore, which would definitely open up opportunity for Pascal. I would expect Marcus Johnson's, like, snap percentage, though, would go way down. Like, he's not going to be on the field nearly as much if Hilton plays. So we just kind of have to wait and see there. Like I said, I think Hilton probably sits this one out, so Marcus Johnson for 5,200. I will definitely have my eye on. I mentioned Marlon Mack. I don't really want to go to him on this showdown slate. Tough matchup, 7,800. Like, if Hilton's out, I would rather play Pascal. Like, I'd rather drop down some of the cheaper guys we have. Like, you got the tight ends, Jared Cook, 6,800, Jack Doyle, 6,600. Cook you could definitely look to here against the Colts. The Colts have really struggled against tight ends this season. You never feel good about Jared Cook's volume. Like, he had a big game last week, but that was on 2 targets. Both of his catches were touchdowns. Like, obviously that's not going to happen every week. I mean, he's been better, like, recently just in terms of the game log. I mean, he's got double-digit Draftkings points, like, in 7 or 6 straight games. His target volume, though, is just so, like, inconsistent. Like, 3, and then 10 targets, then down to 2, then 8, then 6, then 2. I know he got hurt in that game against the 49ers, so obviously, like, he probably would have had more targets in that game. He did get hurt, like, I believe, around the second quarter. Honestly, might have been, like, early on in the game. I know he caught those 2 touchdowns pretty early on in the game. So you got Cook at 6,800. Doyle at 6,600. Doyle's seen a big role increase with Eric Ebron now on injury reserve. 17 targets the last 2 weeks. He's getting more consistent volume than Jared Cook. Cook's in the better matchup for sure. I think you can definitely play both guys, especially given the lack of value that we have. 68 and 6,600, both as mid-range plays, make plenty of sense. If I have to choose one, I'd probably lean with Jack Doyle. I just like his volume more. I have a feeling Indy's going to have to throw the ball more in this game. But, I mean, both guys will be in my player pool for sure. Both guys I would have exposure to if I was playing multiple lineups. And then you got kind of like your dart throws. I mean, Marcus Johnson I wouldn't consider a dart throw. If T.Y.'s out, Marcus Johnson's actually a pretty solid play at 5,200. He's going to play probably 85 to 90% of the snaps. He's going to get 6, 7, 8 targets. If Pascal is shadowed by Lattimore, that's going to open up plenty of volume for Marcus Johnson. So I definitely have interest in him. But then you have like these the Saints receivers like Ted Ginn, Traquan Smith. Both these guys are just so hard to predict. Like, if we just look at snap percentage, I mean, they're on the field a decent amount. Traquan Smith played 78% of the snaps last week. Ted Ginn, 58%. So there at least is opportunity there for these two guys. But they just don't get targeted in this offense. I mean, Ginn's getting anywhere from like 3 to 5 targets a week. He's like really dependent on big plays. Like, we know if Drew Brees is putting up a big game, it's very likely that Michael Thomas is having a big game as well. If we look at Traquan Smith, I mean, he's just getting like 2 to 3 targets a week. Really hard to predict. Even though he's playing a ton of snaps, he's just not getting targeted much. These guys are like dart throws at best. I wouldn't consider them like optimal plays. If I'm only playing one lineup, they probably don't make it into my one lineup. Honestly, I'd rather have the kickers over Ted Ginn and Traquan Smith. Usually I would side with the receivers, but it's just so hard to predict Ginn and Smith right now. Even though they're on the field a ton, like, you just don't know what kind of volume they're going to get. They're very touchdown dependent, so give me the kickers over them. I mean, you got Will Lutz at 4K, McLaughlin at 3,600. It's very likely both these guys get close to, if not double-digit DK points, which is probably more than any other player in this price range is going to score. So I'm fine playing the kickers on this showdown slate. If you want to play both, usually that's not a route I take, but given the lack of value, I think you could do it. Nyheim Hines, I actually have a decent amount of interest in, just given like what I expect the game script to be in this game. We've seen this season, like, Marlon Mack is just not involved in the passing game. Nyheim Hines gets a lot of work in the passing game. He's there like pass down back. On third downs, he's out there a ton. In this game, as 10-point underdogs, like, they should have to throw quite a bit. There's a chance the Colts are trailing for a large majority of this game. We could definitely see Nyheim Hines get a lot of work in the passing game. We still do know that, I mean, Marlon Mack is a little iffy. Like, he's not a full 100% like go. I mean, it's not like he's going to play 100% of the snaps. I mean, we can look at the running back snaps from last week just to see how much Mack played. So last week, Mack played on, he played on 41% of the snaps. So Nyheim Hines actually played on more percentage of the snaps than Mack did last week. You had Wilkins play on 14% as well. I mean, I would expect that Mack plays on more than 41% this week, but still, given game script, how they use Nyheim Hines, I actually have a decent amount of interest in him, and I honestly think he's one of the better values at 3,800. Like, it's very likely if at halftime it's Saints 17, Colts 3, or Colts 7, like, we see a lot of Nyheim Hines in the second half as they're trying to catch up, as they're playing catch up, and they need to throw a lot. So 3,800, definitely have interest in him. It is encouraging to see that he actually played more snaps than Mack did last week. I don't think that happens again, but we'll just kind of have to see there. Game script, though, I think should just give Hines opportunity. But, like, under 3K, there's really no dart throws you feel good about. Like, I mean, Taysom Hill's always a guy that's going to be on the field some. He's got the chance for, like, special teams and stuff. I mean, they'll use him in, like, end rounds. They'll line him up in the Wildcat. They'll even use him as a receiver. So there's always potential for him. I know it was that Thanksgiving Day slate in that Sunday night game or the Thursday night game against the Falcons. That was a 3-game slate. They also had a showdown slate for that. He had 18 DraftKings points in that game. I know he had a receiving touchdown. I think he had a rushing touchdown as well. 33 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. I think he had a receiving touchdown as well, if I'm not mistaken. But Taysom Hill, he's a dart throw at best. You just kind of have to pray that they give him an end around or something. He scores a TD. That could be all you need on a showdown slate like this, when there's really no value you feel good about. Even a guy like Dontrell Inman, could definitely see him being interesting. I mean, the Colts did just sign him. We don't know yet if he's actually going to be what his role is going to be, especially if T.Y. Hilton plays. I don't expect Inman to have much of a role. If T.Y. Hilton is out, though, we could definitely see Inman on three wide receiver sets. They have been using this guy, honestly don't even know how to say his name, Ashton Doolin, I think, is the guy they've been using on 3 wide receiver sets. He played on, I think he played on 40% of the snaps last week, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check that real quick, though. So Doolin played on 22% of the snaps, but Paris Campbell did get hurt in that game. Campbell played on 49%, wound up getting hurt. So we should see some Ashton Doolin here. Who knows what to expect from him, but he's $600. I mean, he's a dart throw. You could consider it, if you're playing a lot of lineups, but there's really no value that I love. My favorite values are probably the kickers and Nyheim Hines. I mean, you could always take a shot on the Saints pass catchers like Ginn and Smith, but I mean, I feel like they're probably going to get outscored by the kickers, most likely. Kickers probably don't have as much upside, but I mean, Ginn and Smith both haven't shown much upside either this season. Traquan Smith's best game this season is 10.9 DK points. Ted Ginn's biggest game this season is 20 DK points he had in week 1, but I don't expect him to do that most games. I mean, he had 7 catches, 107 yards. You're not going to get that from Ted Ginn. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at the player pool for this showdown slate. We can definitely talk about roster construction now. I said I wanted to try and build out a lineup with Michael Thomas at captain, 18,900. Normally, I would plug in the quarterback if I'm playing a pass catcher at captain. Normally, I would plug his quarterback into the lineup, but given that Breeze is $12K, I think we can probably look elsewhere. We can probably drop down to Brissett for $3K cheaper. I definitely like Marcus Johnson. I think he is one of the better values. Assuming T.Y. Hilton is out again, I really like Marcus Johnson at $5,200. I mentioned Nyheim Hines I like a lot, $3,800. He could be a value, but we'll see what we can work with these last 3 flex spots. I mean, we're probably going to need to plug in at least one value. If we just go Cook and Doyle, let's see what that leaves us with. Cook Doyle leaves us $3,500, so there's really not much I like below $3,500. So I have a feeling we'll probably need to go with one cheap value, either Hines or one of the kickers. We'll just plug in one of the kickers for now. That leaves us $6,450 remaining per player. So, I mean, if we want to get up to one of the top guys like Kamara, that would probably leave us $3K remaining. I just don't think there's anybody at $3K I want to play. I mean, I guess you could play Traquan Smith, but I don't really want to go that route. I don't feel great about Traquan Smith here. So let's say we go with Zach Pascal, 8K. We got Brissett in there. We got his 2 pass catchers. That leaves us $4,900 remaining per player, and then you could play Nyheim Hines if you want to go that route. It's a tough showdown slate, though, no doubt. You're not going to feel great about the lineups you build. If you play Michael Thomas or Drew Brees, if you play these guys, you're going to feel good about having them in your lineups. But then you look at the rest of your lineup, and you got 2 kickers, or you got a cheap dart throw receiver in there. And if I was just to build a mid-range lineup, let's just say I go with a Zach Pascal at captain, assuming T.Y.'s out, Pascal, Brissett, and then maybe Doyle or Cook. If you build a lineup just full of mid-range guys, you're not going to like that either, because then you're missing out on Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Kamara, who have incredibly high ceilings. You could definitely still get one of those guys in this build, though. If you went with Thomas, that'd leave you $3K, which would be enough to play Traquan Smith. If you went with Drew Brees, that'd leave you $3,600, which would be enough to get to the Colts kicker. If you went with Alvin Kamara, that'd leave you $5,800, so then you could probably play Marcus Johnson, which is definitely a route you could take. I think it's interesting. You probably could play Brissett at captain. Normally, I don't play a quarterback at captain, but if I do, I want at least 2 of his pass catchers in my lineup, so you could play Brissett at captain, and then assuming T.Y.'s out, my favorite pass catchers to go to would either be Pascal, Doyle, or Johnson. Let's just say Pascal's shadowed by Lattimore, and we don't want to target that matchup, then we could definitely look to Doyle and Johnson. And that leaves us $8,233 remaining per player. You could probably get up to Michael Thomas for $12,600. If you wanted to play Kamara at $9,800, that leaves you $2,300, so there's not really much I like there. You can maybe go to Jared Cook, though, and then that would leave you enough to play like one of the kickers or the defenses. But yeah, man, this is a really tough showdown slate. You're not going to feel great about your lineups. If I'm playing one lineup, I'll probably just jam in Michael Thomas at captain and then kind of work from there. Kind of like I did on the last Thursday night slate. Like, you didn't love that Thursday night slate with the Ravens and the Jets. But when you built out your lineups, you just jammed in Lamar at captain. That was kind of what you needed to win. I could see this being a slate where you just kind of jam in one of those top-tier guys at captain, and that's like what the winning combo is. I'd be very surprised if like Michael Thomas is not like the high-scoring player on the showdown slate, or at least close to it, at least like top 3. But yeah, guys, I think we covered everything. Broke down the player pool, talked about roster construction. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys want to check out all the content I have available on Patreon, you can do so, link down below. You can get access to all of my NFL content. I do post articles for these showdown slates for the Monday night and Thursday night games. I also have content going up for the main slate as well, mostly on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll post all that. I do post NBA content Monday through Friday. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you do join by Christmas Day, you will be entered into our $100 free roll contest. I'll post a link on Patreon where all my Patreon members can access that link. You'll be able to get access to it. And then you'll be able to set your lineup for the Christmas Day NBA slate. And if you win, you'll win $100 coming out of my pocket. I'll either probably PayPal it to you, or we can figure out a way to get the money to you. So yeah, check out the Patreon. If you sign up, you'll get access to our free roll, have a chance to win $100. Don't think this is going to be a one-time thing either. Every time I hit a new goal, like I recently hit my goal of 50 Patreons, if we hit our new goal of 75 Patreons, we'll run another $100 free roll that'll be available for all Patreon subscribers. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. I think that's it for all the plugs. Drop a like, subscribe. As always, appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at DFS by Noah. But good luck on the showdown slate. Appreciate you watching, guys. See you in the next video. Peace.